Medieval Europe, 500 AD to 1500 AD, or it's also called the Middle Ages, Middle Age Europe. So the Middle Ages or medieval Europe is 1,000 years, a 1,000-year period after the fall of Rome and before the Renaissance. It's in Western Europe and in Eurasia, Eastern Europe. If you see here, they had a lot of dense forests, a lot of fertile soil, rich in minerals, and they had the seas. Some of the causes. So, with the fall of Rome in 476 AD, you're going to get tribal warfare. Remember, it is the barbarian gangs or the barbarians that help lead to the fall of Rome. So you're definitely going to get tribal warfare continuing. There's no central government. Weak local governments are going to exist. Cities disappear. Money is no longer used. Trade will collapse, and advances made by Greece and Rome pretty much for the large part are forgotten, and the literacy rate declines. As a matter of fact, priests are barely able to read the Bible. So with the fall of Rome, this creates a huge power vacuum in Western Europe and Eastern Europe, and mainly in the early days with Western Europe, because Rome had governed all of that land, and now you have these tribes and these barbarians all fighting for control over this land. So think about what I usually try to tell you guys in classes. Think about what would happen to the U.S. if we collapsed today. What kind of power vacuum would there be there? What kind of tribal or barbarian gangs are out there? And how would we live? So this would be something to pose toward our civilization moving forward as well. So as you see, what you're going to end up getting is the Dark Ages in Western Europe. And literally people live day to day, and they live by their fighting means. If they're able to swing a sword, if they're able to yield power, all that good stuff. So Germanic tribes, they're mainly farmers and herders. There's no written laws. They divided Western Europe into small kingdoms. Not these Franks, but these Franks, and what will be called part of Germany and France today. And if you see here, these areas right along in here as well. The most powerful Germanic tribe in Gaul, or present-day France, were the Franks. Clovis is the king of the Franks, and he converted to Christianity. The Roman Catholic Church becomes his ally and his supporter. The Battle of Tours, and this is fast forwarding quite a few years, but the Battle of Tours, the Franks defeat the Muslims in Spain, so the Muslim expansion, the Islamic Empire expansion, will be stopped at the Battle of Tours, and it saves France from Islamic takeover or a Muslim fate. So it's often credited as stopping the advance of the Islamic Empire. So as you see, it stopped the Muslims in advancing into Western Europe. Christians did not want Islam to spread into Europe, even though they learned science and math and Arab from the Muslims. Charlemagne, or Charles the Great, in 800 AD, he became the king of the Franks. Pope Leo III named him emperor, and this is going back to Clovis. This is a big deal when the Pope will name you the emperor, because this has a relationship between the church and the emperor or the king, and this relationship will remain very important for about 600-700 years, even longer than that. But as far as the church backing the king, his empire was united in Europe. It's called the Holy Roman Empire. So how did his empire get this name? How do you think? Well, doesn't have it on here, but how it gets his name, the Holy Roman Empire. Charlemagne's about 6'4" tall. He's a big athletic guy. Very intelligent, although he's not able to read and write. But he is a man of devout Christianity. He is a devout Christian, so he wants basically his empire to be extremely religious. Matter of fact, if he disagreed with you and with the religious doctrine, and if you committed what he considered acts of heresy, he'd have you executed right on the spot. But he also wanted to bring back the Roman traditions. He wanted to bring back Roman law. He wanted to bring back Roman government. He wanted to bring back a lot of the things from Rome. So this is how it gets its name, the Holy Roman Empire, because he wanted basically combining Christianity with trying to bring back the Roman Empire. He spread Christianity. He blends Christian, Roman, and German traditions, and he formed an efficient government. Charlemagne tried to revive learning. He's known as one of the rulers in Europe at this period of time to really set up educational facilities. As I said, he was illiterate himself, but he wanted to make sure that his empire was well educated. Once again, why are you in school? Basically, it moves us forward. An educated public is a much more productive public. So he set up schools, tried to educate officials and children. You don't really need that to write this, but I do like to point out he brought up curriculums or formal course of study, including reading, grammar, math, music, and astronomy. It's where we get the word curriculum from today. New attacks. After Charlemagne's death in 814, the Muslims, the Magyars, and the Vikings will attack his lands. When he dies, as you see, his empire is going to fall apart and his heirs fight over it. This leads to the Treaty of Verdun in 843 AD. And as you see, Charlemagne's empire is going to be divided up into three kingdoms. You're going to have over here, you're going to have the kingdom of Charles the Bald. And he was not bald-headed, by the way, but that was his name, Charles the Bald. This is a son of one of the sons of Charlemagne. Lothar, another son of Charlemagne. He has this middle part here. And of course, Louis the German, he has the eastern part here. So that's how Charlemagne's empire will be divided amongst his three sons. That's what it looked like. This is what it's going to end up looking like. It's what it looked like. Life in medieval Europe. Feudalism. You notice it's bold and underlined. You need to know this. Political system in which exchanges land for military service. Basically, the king gives the lord, a vassal, a fief, which is land. In exchange, the lord, the vassal, gives the king his loyalty and protection when needed. So, you need to understand a vassal, the lord, and you need to know what a fief is. Fief is what they called land. Lords gradually became more powerful than kings as they acquired more land. And how will lords buy this protection? There you go. So that's just a graph there. So kings and lords were on top, the social hierarchy. So how would these lords get these knights and get these farmers to their land? Because once the lord pledges loyalty to the king, he's got to have a military. Well, he basically gives part of his land. He rents or he ups up part of his land to knights and really to farmers. And this is how he gets his army, is through dividing his land up. So knights were mounted warriors, more thugs of the day. They were not really this whole chivalry thing. This is not a very formal thing, and it's a code of conduct. Be brave, loyal, and polite. It's something to live up to, and at least they had a goal. But really, knights just wanted to go around pillaging and killing and raping, of course. So, feudal lords battled constantly over power and land. By the 1100s, fighting declined, so lords held what were called tournaments, and these are fake battles, and this was to entertain people. Jousting, all of that good stuff. Jousting tournaments. Serfs, these are peasants who worked on the lord's land. They're tied to the land. They could not leave their land without permission. They were paid, or they paid the lord rent and food and labor, no money. Remember, money's not used, so for use of the land and protection. The role of women, it says don't write it, but you might want to get some of this down. Noble women managed the household and were in charge when the men were away. Their rights, they received a limited inheritance. Arranged marriages they were expected to have many kids. Few knew how to read or write. Chivalry basically raised women to a new status, and they were protected and cherished instead of not. Manneralism, you need to know this. Put a star by this one and know it. It's an economy where land, not money, is the basis of wealth. The manor is the lord's estate, including a town, peasant houses, churches, and fields. It was self-sufficient, which led to a decline in trade. Trade will practically disappear. The three-field system, basically what happens is you have 2 fields that are planted and you leave 1 empty or fallow to regain its fertility. So Europe is isolated, but there were advanced civilizations in the Middle East, South Asia, and China. Not mentioned earlier, but think about this as we leave. There's only one institution from the Roman Empire that's left. All other social institutions have been torn down, have been pretty much done away with. There's only one institution left, and it's going to actually pull Europe through the Middle Ages and get them to the Renaissance. What institution is that?